Will you be ready when God returns? There has and always seemed to be a never-ending fascination relating to the time of God's arrival and the method of transportation He will use to take us with Him to heaven, those who have been faithful. Many have made predictions based upon calendar computations, scientific reasoning, and other forecasting methods to ensure their predictions present credible landmarks in the minds of their target audience. So far, all of which have not materialized into reality. Movies have been skillfully crafted with cinematographic wizardry, providing seemingly authentic and thought-provoking scenes about the arrival of God that has unfortunately portrayed only an imaginative illusion which blatantly misrepresents the truth. It is unfortunate that details of the second coming, which are known only to God Himself, is now so commonly claimed to be revealed knowledge by many. In truth, these false claims are clever guises used by self-proclaimed holy individuals to obtain popularity and financial gain for themselves. The painful impact these types of vacant theories, promulgated by predatory characters considered credible, have upon followers who are ignorant yet hunger for God's truth includes followers blindly legitimizing these false predictions by selling all their possessions and giving it to the self-professed holy person making these false predictions. Followers mentally infected by untruth now become energized to influence others thirsty for truth, only to have them believe in the same nonsense as well. Recently, there has been a sudden increase in emergency baptisms, which are supposed to make one instantly holy and prepared for their journey to heaven. Some individuals have gone as far as calling themselves God or claiming to be the Son or some other important representative of His in hopes of getting credibility for their non-spiritual, self-centered objectives. God in His holy words has cautioned us to be aware of individuals such as these. The warning states that if anyone tells you, "Look, here is the Messiah," or "There He is," don't believe it. For false messiahs and false prophets will rise up and perform great signs and wonders so as to deceive, if possible, even God's chosen ones. See, I have warned you about this ahead of time. Matthew 24, verse 23. These messages spoken then in the past still holds true today. Smooth-talking speakers, abundant in numbers, are constantly delivering messages that are always in conflict with God's words. It then should be with a driven purpose that we study God's plans for our lives and believe in them, as opposed to those of men carrying out the will of Satan. Despite the pain caused by these false prophets, we still have to pray for them and hope they become released from the clutches of the devil, who always uses any circumstance or anyone possible to deflect the focus away from God. It may be possible that these false preachers are not aware of the plans created for them, because if they were, there probably wouldn't be any of them if a real relationship with the living God was the motive. God's remedy for false prophets is written as follows: If any man shall take away from the words of the prophecy of this book, God will take away his part out of the book of life, and out of the holy city, and from the things which are written in this book, meaning the Bible. Revelation 22, verse 19. Although these false, Satan-inspired predictions of God's return are made to confuse anyone choosing to believe them, although quite ridiculous in nature, they should not be ignored because they are an important part of the signs of God's return to earth. We are told, "Don't let anyone mislead you, for many will come in my name, claiming, 'I am the Messiah.' They will deceive many. And you will hear of wars and threats of wars, but don't panic. Yes, those things must take place, but the end won't follow immediately. Nation will go to war against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in many parts of the world. But all this is only the first of the birth pains, with more to come. Then you will be arrested, persecuted, and killed. You will be hated all over the world because you are my followers. And many will turn away from me and betray and hate each other. And many false prophets will appear and deceive many people. Sin will be rampant everywhere, and the love of many will grow cold. But the one who endures to the end will be saved. Matthew 24, verses 4 through 13. Many of these signs are already taking place, maybe not in your neighborhood, but somewhere across the world. Believers serving selflessly in mission fields, many of them far away from home and who are being arrested, cut to pieces, and are being tortured and hated for their belief in God. Persecution.com. These modern-day sacrifices are reminders of prophecies told many years ago of God's second coming that are being fulfilled and should remind us that if we look to man for direction, we are certain to be lost forever. Only a total focus on God can spare us the eternal sorrows of what we will experience if left behind when He comes and after He leaves. So when will God really come back? According to the Scriptures, when the good news about the kingdom is preached throughout the whole world, so that all nations will hear it, and then will the end come. Matthew 24, verse 14. As part of our mission now, we should not only be praying for our brothers and sisters already who are spreading the good news of salvation, but join them in a global crusade to help spread the news locally, nationally, and internationally in order to help expedite God's return. Other signs includes the sun will be darkened, the moon will give no light, the stars will fall from the sky, and the powers in the heavens will be shaken. And then at last, the sign that the Son of Man is coming will appear in the heavens, and there will be deep mourning among all the peoples of the earth. And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with great power and glory. And He will send out His angels with the mighty blast of a trumpet, and they shall gather His chosen ones from all over the world, from the farthest ends of the earth and the heaven. Matthew 24, verses 29 through 31. We are further informed that this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. Matthew 24, verse 34 and 35. What a dreadful day for those who have chosen not to believe. The mourning that will take place will be for people who have made a mockery of God's existence, followed false gods, persecuted His followers, and lived a life in total disobedience to His will. If you knew the precise moment of God's return, what would you be doing right now? What would you do differently in order to prepare for His arrival? It might be hard to say exactly. However, many might delay until the very last minute to commit to a life of getting to know God or to make a service-oriented choice to live in obedience to Him. Others will still choose to believe that He will not be coming and continue to enjoy sinful choices in the name of fun until it is too late, like many at each fall's predictions who rush to get emergency baptisms. So since we don't know exactly the date and time when God will return, we are cautioned to keep watch, for you don't know what day your Lord is coming. Understand this: if a homeowner knew exactly when a burglar was coming, he would keep watch and not permit his house to be broken into. You must also be ready at all time, for the Son of Man will come when least expected. Matthew 24, verse 42. When God returns, there will be no time to negotiate your position, no time to repent or to be baptized, no time to make toxic relationships God-approved, no time to go to church for one last service. You won't even have time to pray. Preparing to live the best life now in accordance to God's plans for us will not only ensure better relationships with each other here on earth as we demonstrate His goodness with our blessed lives, but will assist in developing habits that are highly compatible for an existence in the perfect society of the future. What are the details of the transition from heaven to earth? Despite the clear, concise details of God's arrival as laid out in His messages to us, there still remains a great degree of confusion as to the exact mode of transportation. Some believe He will swoop down and pick them up in fiery chariots with great horses. Others believe that when they die, their souls go directly to heaven and the body remains here as fertilizer for plants and trees. For others, God will selectively snatch humans from the planet at different points in time, regardless of what they may be doing, and take them directly to heaven in the rapture. A mysterious, sudden, and quiet extraction without the slightest trace. The rapture describes a process whereby, upon God's return, individuals found worthy of going to heaven will ascend into the sky to meet Him. They will be transformed into perfect beings during their ascension up to heaven. Although this is a part of the ascension process on the final day, the details are quite different than what was described earlier. God's return will be sudden and far from quiet. The transportation process will be void of mystery. On the day when God comes to start a new life for many, He will come down from heaven with a commanding shout, with the voice of the archangel and the trumpet call of God, and the dead in Christ will rise first. Then we, which are alive and remain, will be caught up together with them in the clouds, to meet the Lord in the air, and so will we ever be with the Lord forever. 1 Thessalonians 4, verses 1 through 17. God is very precise and very systematic in everything that He does. Ending this existence on earth will not be done in one designated state or some popular resort in an exotic location of the world. He will not come for one particular race or group of individuals, but He will return for all who remain faithful to Him and in a manner that everyone on earth will see Him. Those who have died and buried at sea will also be resurrected. Don't let false teachers, false preachers, so-called holy people, smart men and women of physical or spiritual sciences and baseless philosophical theories mislead you and rob you of the joys that God has planned for you. Understand that these individuals are usually very knowledgeable of the truth, but finds it profitable to mislead others instead. They themselves will continue to be in serious jeopardy if they don't change their deceptive ways before other signs superseding their own arrives, and it becomes too late to get things right with God as they stand face to face with Him. That face-to-face moment will be a day of rejoicing for many, but it will also be the most horrible day on the planet for those who are not prepared. My dear friend, let us remain prayerful that God will continue to have you and I in His favor and keep our minds sharp and make us wise so we remain protected from false teachings. Do your part to start or get deeper into a close and meaningful relationship with Him by constantly studying His words for yourself and asking for the wisdom and the courage necessary to spread the great news of salvation with as many people as you can. As you stay tuned to world events, many of it catastrophic abroad and at home, you can hear and see that the signs of His coming are obvious. So live every day as it was your last. Remember, don't take time for granted. If it is God's reason that you or others went into a long sleep today, the very next face you see when awakened by loud trumpets will be His. Do not be found wanting to be in need of salvation then, because your voice will not be heard. Forget not to always stay alert. Pray for me as I will be praying for you. Let us encourage each other to watch and always be ready.